I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers, so go ahead and click subscribe today. Welcome back to the Ango Show. I, of course, am Ango. We're going to talk about some AEW stuff today. This one seems to be pretty interesting to me for a lot of reasons. You might not know who this is. This is Katsuchika Nakajima. You might remember him from Pro Wrestling Noah, or if you're somebody who used to watch ROH, I want to say, it was like 2009, maybe? I could be wrong about the date. But Katsuchika Nakajima, Pro Wrestling Noah, potentially leaving Pro Wrestling Noah. He says he's going to be departing the company at the end of October. Tony Khan was asked about this at the media scrum for Wrestle Dream, and he says it's not an idea that he's just high on, right? Like, this is not something like he's just super interested in. He also says that he's heard that he is interested in joining AEW, and that could be really cool. You know what I mean? I like the idea of AEW working with Japanese talents, bringing in talent from Japan, whether it's Pro Wrestling Noah, DDT, or even New Japan. I think it's cool when AEW does it. Konosuke Takeshita has been one of the best signings in AEW history, in my opinion, because I just feel like there's so much potential with him. And then obviously I've seen his stuff on Deadlock. I've seen what he's done outside of AEW too. So when you're familiar with some of these talents and you see how talented they are, there's a lot of cool things that you could see AEW doing with them. And look, the reality is that AEW is not as storyline centric as I would hope they are. That's the reality. But at the very least, I can accept that, right? But at the very least, when you bring in a diverse roster from different parts of the world and you have all of these different matchups, at least you're able to provide exciting matchups, right? And that's one of the things I constantly praise about AEW. AEW is more of a matchmaking company than a booking company. There are some weaknesses in booking, and that's just subjective. That's just my opinion. There's some holes in the way that they book shows. Not that their shows are good or bad or anything like that, but at least when they have signings like this, you tend to see people come in and actually have good matches, and that's a good thing, right? At least if you like wrestling, AEW is going to have good wrestling. I believe there is more to wrestling. I appreciate the theatrics and the wacky characters and stuff like that. I do. And AEW has a little bit of that too, but really the wrestling is the centric part of the show, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not necessarily what I tend to lead into. It's not the thing that I'm most invested in. The cool thing is, though, when you bring in somebody like this, you have tons of different matchup opportunities, and I really think Tony Khan, he respects wrestling history. That is always going to be a plus. That is always going to be a huge thing, because at least at the very minimum, he is going to show homage and respect to those that came before. And listen, AEW, new signings, I think it's getting a little bit of a cluster. I do. There's a lot of people who aren't being used, but the reality is if they're not being used and they haven't been used in a while, more than likely AEW probably won't use them, and therefore, if you're not going to use them, I would just recommend letting them go. But at the end of the day, I would support a signing like this, especially when you're bringing in international talent. I'm always a big fan of that, regardless of the company it happens in. New trademarks for Edge. Oh, gosh, dude, I can't call him Edge no more. Yeah, WWE owns the Edge name. Okay, that's the reality. But there's some new trademarks for AEW, and I thought this was interesting. The first trademark is the Rogue. The Rogue trademark registration is intended to cover the categories of entertainment and the nature of wrestling contests. Entertainment services, namely wrestling exhibits and performances by a professional wrestler and entertainer. Pretty interesting. Is this going to be like a nickname? I don't know. And main reason why I say that is because AEW introduced Edge as the Rated R Superstar. They got the Rated R Era t-shirt already. So, by the way, those who don't know, the Rated R Superstar trademark was dropped by WWE in 2020. They never extended it. That's why it wasn't in WWE 2K22 or 2K23. But nonetheless, that's why. The other trademark is Cope. Which the Cope trademark registration is intended to cover the categories of entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests, entertainment services, namely wrestling exhibits and performances by a professional wrestler and entertainer. I don't understand this one. I don't. I'm not going to act like I do. So that's a very interesting choice to trademark. We'll see. The last trademark is actually really dope. It's Legend. Ledgee. I can't spell. Ledgend. Which is intended to cover the categories of bandanas, hats, shirts, socks, sweatshirts, hooded sweatshirts. Yeah, he can't be Edge in AEW, but they're calling the trademark Legend, and it's spelled with Edge in the word. I think that's pretty clever. I think it's pretty cool. Edge is definitely a legend. I don't understand the tribalism here, why people are so upset with him going to AEW. Literally, this is the most incredible time to be a wrestling fan. You have up-and-coming rising stars like Jade Cargill leaving AEW for WWE, and you get a 50-year-old legend who's going to be a fantastic veteran to have backstage for AEW, and he's going to be wrestling full-time. It's like both companies win. WWE wants future stars. AEW is trying to fix some of the holes in their game, and the best way to do that is by bringing in a veteran presence. And on top of that, he's going to be full-time, so it's like he's actually going to be wrestling. He's actually going to be doing stuff with AEW. And look, we saw the CM Punk debacle, and it was just massively a big blow to the backstage environment of AEW. This solves that. And look, if you want Ricky Starks or Powerhouse Hobbs or Miro or Malachi Black or any of these people, Jungle Boy, you want any of these people to go to WWE, the way to that making sense, people have to leave WWE and go to AEW. Yeah, would I prefer AEW doesn't build their entire brand off of former WWE talent? Yeah, of course. I think that would be part of being the alternative. But at the same time, too, I don't find anything wrong with it as long as they're utilizing talent in the way that I deem good. And some talent are utilized very well, and there's other talent that are underutilized. And that's just the reality. You can agree, disagree, and that's fine, but that's the reality with AEW. I like these trademarks. I have no idea what the hell they're going to be used for, but it's going to be really interesting to see how his AEW run goes. And look, they're already getting people talking based on the story with Luchasaurus and Christian and Nick Wayne. I mean, it's some pretty cool stuff, man. I like it. And guys, that brings us to our final story of today. AEW has more surprises planned. I don't know what the hell they got cooking here, but this is interesting. On Being the Elite, Matt Jackson was talking. He says, just don't forget it, Denver. There we go. There's been a lot of shows. Obviously, we've had shows. We're trying to travel from the West Coast to the East Coast every single week. Besides this one in Denver, it's been a lot. It's taxing. Guess what? Big night for us, right? Adam Copeland debuts. We got our future title match. Yeah, big things. I would like to do that, by the way. We're all tired, so I have a little bit of a surprise to make. Travel, a little bit of a surprise for us this Wednesday coming up. Stay tuned. I think you guys are all going to be happy. Oh, my gosh. This is so cool. What are they teasing? What are they doing? What are they cooking up? I tell you guys, surprises, too many surprises in the business could be pretty detrimental. AEW really hasn't had that many surprises in this past year. They've had some, but there's not that many. But the reality is that when I look at AEW right now, they need to they're kind of rebounding, okay? That's the reality. They're kind of rebounding. And they're improving the weakness in their product, and I'm noticing a payoff to it. So look, give us more surprises, but please give us more stories. Please, momentum. I swear to God, man, that's literally all I talk about is momentum. Give me some momentum. Swerve beat Hangman Page. Give me some momentum there. And I think we're starting to see a lot of that improve. And listen, what I'm saying is nothing new. This is why I ask you guys to subscribe. It's very easy to make blanket statements. Ango is a mark for WWE or Ango is a mark for AEW. But then when you just simply watch the content and you know where I stand, I really just want WWE and AEW to continue momentum, continue stories, and just keep me invested. The start and stop stuff doesn't do that. So with that being said, I'm really geeked for Dynamite this week. Who knows what's going to happen, whether it's a debut, the new signings, whether it's anything. It could be anything, and it's going to be crazy. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Don't forget, I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. And with that being said, I'll see you next time.